What originated from heaven will return to heaven. You brought nothing into this world, and you can take nothing out. To the fall of Adam, you came to this world naked, and if you don't come to comprehend what it is that God has offered, you leave this world naked. It's written, from whence Adam left. What did he leave? Well, we get the religious idea of Eden. He left that pure world. He left that world that would have had no beginning, no end, as we perceive those two words, end and beginning. A world without end. That's mentioned twice in the Bible. In the Old Testament once, in the New Testament. A world without end. We have never lived to see a world without end. We see a world around us that has a beginning, birth, and then the end of it, death. That's all we've ever known. Life and death. I want to bring out like a timeline of what happened and how God addressed that, give us a solution to the problem that occurred before the foundations of this world. That world from whence Adam left. That world where things originate. And if they don't originate there, they don't return there. Whatever was in that realm, before this realm, time, space, and material world, what was it there that God had to deal with? The word is iniquity. I have made other videos on this thing of iniquity to explain it. But the origins of iniquity began with Lucifer. I've gathered notes over many years and compiled them into a notebook and called it, from whence we came, we must return. You know, I've tried to put this out on YouTube and changing the title to The Ultimate Intention of God. I tried to introduce it one time, and it got so many people that totally misunderstood what I'm saying. You get people coming up out of the woodwork, talking about pre-existence, you know, pre-birth experiences, you know, how we were in heaven, how we came here, to get into what the Mormons teach, you know. You know, I took it off the web and came at it from the ultimate intention of God. What was God's original intent? I started another series called The Continuance. Those of the Continuance. As far as God's concerned, He's often finished what's going to happen in this world. In this break in continuance, He's the ultimate finisher of it. God has worked it to His good. As far as the mind of God's concerned, there's never been this break. Everything continues, and those that are of this continuance know exactly what I'm talking about. For example, we know in our day and age that we live in what everyone says is the end times. As it was in the days of Noah, so shall be the coming of the Son of Man. We know this. I mean, I've been saying that for the last 50 years. That doesn't change the fact that we are living in the end times. Our idea of end times could have lasted hundreds of years. As far as God, what's 100 years to God? Nothing. To us, it's like, that was my lifetime. God don't count slackness as we count slackness, but it's long suffering. It's not willing any would perish. So 100 years is nothing, and God's thinking. Adam's generation lived hundreds of years. Adam lived to be 930 years of age. Methuselah, the oldest man, lived to be 969 years of age. They say that a day with the Lord is like 1,000 years. So in light of a day, He never lived out his day. We've never lived that day. The day of salvation. There's a lot to that. I don't want to take things quite so literal. I mean, many times there's metaphors, images, and symbols. And this might be one of them. Or a day with the Lord is like 1,000 years of our experience. But in light of that, using it as a symbol, we have never seen longevity of life, of a world without beginning, without end. Our spirits have this locked up in us, in our human spirits. And without debating this, or some would debate with this, the human spirit is eternal. That spirit has no beginning, has no end, will never die. It will live forever. The soul can perish in that it's lost as to God's original intent and purpose. I try to get in this in some of my videos, express it, just touched upon it. Here I like to say that we know that there are two resurrections. Using this term, first resurrection, we know that the resurrection is in light of a body being raised. So the first use of this word resurrection in the first resurrection, and if it's referring to a body, then in the second resurrection it's also referring to a body. We know that. Would there be a different word? It's the resurrection of the dead. We read in Revelation that death, the grave, and hell, and the sea give up its dead. So even our definition of the word dead, which many feel is annihilation, that when you die, that's it, you just return, your ashes return to the ground, and they say you're non-existent. No, you exist. Your soul lives on as well. I've explained this, and using charts and diagrams, that the human spirit, being in the mind of God, eternal, was to be expressed, coming into a body, and to a living soul of intellect and emotions, express that spiritual in a carnal world, natural world, that we call this planet. We were to live out and express. We were to be the expansion, expression of the beloved, as I've been told, of God. It says that we're to increase with the increase of God. As God would increase, He would express Himself to His human spirits, quickened by the Holy Spirit, expressing Himself to a living soul of intellect and emotions through a body in a carnal world, like on a stage, For our human spirits to be this expression of the expansion of God, it would require the surrender of the human soul that was cut off from God at birth and was shaped in the iniquity of its parents according to its race, cultures, and creeds, its gender. We would have to surrender what we thought we were compared to who we truly are in the eyes of our spirit. God knows us after the spirit. Paul said that thou know men after the flesh, race, cultures, and creeds, gender. I no longer know them that way. I know them after the spirit, the human spirit. For there is no Greek, no Jew, no Bulgarian, no Scythian, no bond, no free, no male, no female. But a whole new idea, beyond any ideas we've ever known, of a creation which was God's original intent, and was to be expansion of who He is and who we are in a temporal world that would go on forever. There'd be no end to this world and this expansion, expression. There's a length, breadth, height, and depth of God that transcend any human ideas we've come up in the secular or religious world. It's just who God is and who we are. I try to touch on that in the ultimate intention of God. I mean, you can't get it all on video. There's so much. I've asked these questions, and I hope that there would be those that would follow this and get past and be willing to let this life go and this views and perspective of the world, the flesh, the devil, and our race, cultures, and creeds, and our gender, and ask God to reveal what's hidden in Christ, in us, in a treasure chest. Christ in you, the hope of glory. Now think about that, the hope of glory. He said, God will meet my needs according to his riches and glory. These riches are these treasures inside this treasure chest of Christ in you. A chest, just a symbol. Don't get too hung up in the symbol. We do have no wood, hay, and stubble, or gold, silver, and precious. And the wood, hay, and stubble is everything you were taught, independent from God, shaped by the iniquity of your parents and your race, cultures, and creeds and ideas. That's filthy rags. There's nothing to it. As good as it may appear, your prestige, your recognition, your social position in this life amounts to nothing. All good gifts come down from the Father above. And his motive, intent, and reason for our being here is not the intent and the will of men, but the will of God. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it was in heaven. That's God's original intent. Now that's been so twisted, I don't like using that. Because this idea, the Lord's Prayer, it gets so twisted. Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. We got some millennial idea. No, the original intent of that psalm, or that prayer, is speaking of beyond the 1,000 year reign of Christ, even on this earth. A promised world to a Jewish people that have rejected God as their king and chose the kingdom in this world rather than the kingdom that God had introduced to Abraham, who saw a kingdom not made with hands. God, to fulfill his purposes and for his name's sake, allows them to have this king, Saul, have this kingdom, which ended up being split into two kingdoms. God allows it for his name's sake, because it was through Abram, God changed the name from Abram to Abraham. Do you realize that? That he would not only use this people, save this people who would have this message of the coming Messiah, but he also would in time save the Gentile. So he changed his name from Abram to Abraham. Abraham, meaning the father of many nations. He would save the whole world, which comes up before the beginning of the world, and that God was willing. And we read it all the time, express it, and don't understand the depth of John 3:16. Everyone seems to have the text memorized, but they don't understand its depths and its meaning. For God so loved the world. When? Before the world, for its creation, that he gave his only begotten Son. He gave that Son, knowing Adam would fall, to correct the injustice of that fall, and justify us, placing us once again with no break in this as sons of God. Not sons and daughters of Adam, sons of God. I go a great length to that in my videos, matters of salvation. I had mentioned earlier this thing of the continuance. I think of this in light of what Peter said, and how in the end times, in the days of Noah, like our days, where there be scoffers walking after their own lusts, their views and perspective, the meaning, purpose of this existence, this world. Saying ever since the fathers fell asleep, everything continues as always was. Peter says they forget about this breaking continuance. How God has dealt with it before using water. How once more he will use fire. This water and this fire are expressions of love that it may appear to be destructive. God has to do it to wean us and bring us back to a world a world without end. He said he subjected this world to futility. The deeper rendering of that text, the same, to an unreality. God intended life to go on forever, to never end. Have this power of endless life. It's locked up in this. As Solomon said, eternity is locked and set into the heart of man, that we don't know the beginning from the end. How can they say everything continues as it was since the beginning? They don't know what the beginning was. They can go with evolution, they can go with their alien ideas of being seated on this planet, but if they miss what Genesis was telling us, anyone would know would be God who was there. And God revealing it through revelation to Moses, letting us know how it was, how it would be once again. It said he shook the earth one time, referring to the biblical flood. Yet once more he will shake it one more time. Not only shake the earth, but also the heavens. So everything that can be shaken as far as the idea of kingdom will be restored to a kingdom not made with hands. A kingdom prepared before the foundations of this world, before this break. And the ideas of this kingdom, be it secular or religious kingdom, would be shaken. And the only kingdom that's going to remain is the one that he had made with his own hands. That is prepared to a called out assembly at the pivotal point in human history. At a pivotal point, God called out a people to his original intent of Jew and Gentile to a new creation, new being, a new sense of reality that's in tune with its message of what they call the everlasting gospel. That's the true good news. God's going to restore what the fall of Adam had introduced. Thank God for that. I also had just mentioned how we would increase with the increase of God. Don't think that I'm saying that God is growing and learning as he increases. He's complete. Our Father which is in heaven, holy be your name. Wholeness. The totality of all eternity rests in God our Father, who is no darkness, and a God who is said to change not. Now there's going to argue, say the many changing faces of God. It's not God that changes, it's us. We change in our views and perspective from one degree of faith to one degree of glory, from faith to faith, from glory to glory, as we lose our views and perspective of our soul, and they decay and surrender by an act of our free will who God is and who we truly are, renews this soul's mind and makes us fit for that existence which he so decreed that we would dwell in forever. Without this renewing of the mind, and not being conformed to this world, but being transformed by the renewing of your mind, that has to take place. God established before the world began, he justified us, corrected the injustice that befell us to the fall of Adam. He places us once again as a son, total, complete, with all the wisdom and knowledge God hid, and who we truly are. And we were to work out what God has placed in us that's in this totality, complete, by the surrender of the soul, moment by moment, from one degree to another degree. Surrendering and increase with that increase that God would have given to us. And this will continue through all eternity. Like I'm saying, I look forward to this ever-expanding increase of God and who I am, without end, a world without end. Imagine that, a world without end. You're not in this world forever learning with this ideas. Never come to the knowledge of this experience that, it's after you thought you knew it all that you begin to learn. It's losing this to gain that. What he has to offer cannot be compared to any of the greatest intellects of this world and its opinions and ideas cut off from God. But the man prophet gained this whole world and all the wisdom and knowledge that it has to offer, and that it gathers from this forbidden tree of the wisdom and knowledge of good and evil, thinking they could go there apart from God and believe the lie that they could ever become a God. God is God. He's omniscient, omnipotent, all-powerful, all-knowing, and it's to him that we live, move, have our being. And it's to him that all things hold together and consist. Apart from him, we'd be in a world of hurt. Thank God that his rain falls upon the just and the unjust. Because if it didn't, none of us would be here. Well, I want to end this video. It could be hours, days, weeks long. There's that much that's locked up in every one of us. If we would only ask, seek, knock. To keep on asking, keep on receiving, keep seeking, and we would find that a door would open to another whole reality and pleasures at his right hand that can't be compared to any of the pleasures we've had in this world. So, 22 minutes long so far. I'll leave it at that. There's greater depth to everything I've shared on this channel that develops this brief outline of things I've had over the years and have in writing, and also I've placed some of it on YouTube. I also have a blog started, which I'll put a link to, that I keep adding more and more to every day, of the various compilations of subject matter and books. I call them books. I don't want to just be another book writer and fall into what Solomon said, the writing of many books is wearisome to the flesh. Hear the sum of the matter. Here's the sum of this whole matter. Learn to hear God's commands and obey. Now, it's reaching beyond just the Ten Commandments or any of the Jewish laws and rules that they had. It's reaching into hearing God one-on-one. That's the quickening of the human spirit that will reveal this treasure that's hidden in you, and all the wisdom of God, knowledge of God that's hidden in this earthen vessel, and that the excellency would be of him. Not me, not any other man, not any other writer. I lead you to the shepherd of the sheep and teach you to learn to hear his voice and none other. Not my voice, but the voice of another. His voice and his voice alone. That's the voice that's on this narrow road that I address in my videos. Let me end with a video I put out, the 23rd Psalm, that addresses everything that we all need to know. That the Lord is our shepherd. We shall not want. He makes us lie down in green grass beside still waters. And it's there that he restores our soul and renews it. And from that renewed mind, he leads us in the right paths of his righteousness and things for his name's sake. And though we may walk through the valley of the shadow of death at times, we have no fear of the evil that's around us. His rod and his staff comfort us. He prepared the table before me of my whole total experience in the presence of many enemies. And it's in that path that he anoints my head with oil, to the point my cup runs over. And we discover, as we look back and look to the future on this narrow road, surely goodness, His goodness, and His mercy holding back what I deserve, has followed me all the days of my life. And at the end of this road, I will dwell in the house of the Lord, prepared not by hands, forever. God bless you.